Thank you very much, and thrilled to be here for the session today. And thank you for hanging around. There's 2 sessions between you going home and watching The Grinch. So hopefully you'll enjoy the session today. And thank you, Angelique, for joining me. We're going to be talking about the evolution of the retail media network. And so I'll give a quick introduction to myself and then hand over to Angelique. So I'm Lucy. I am a director at Oracle Advertising, working across our Moat Analytics ad verification suite and data enrichment products. And we have Angelique, who I'll let introduce herself.
Hi, guys. Pleasure to be here. As I was introduced, I lead our media studio division within our advertising arm of Expedia. You might know Expedia as an online travel company, but we also have, for the last 20 years, had a media and advertising business as well, which is why I'm excited to talk about our own evolution with regards to retail media networks and obviously what's happening within the industry. My role at Expedia is leading our in-house creative studio and integrated marketing team, so working with brands and partners, whether they are travel brands that are selling things across our marketplace, or actually just want to reach travelers and travel-adjacent audiences. We help them connect and integrate into our brands and through custom advertising solutions.
Thank you. And shopping and travel are my 2 favorite things, so I feel like I'm definitely in the right place, in the right conversation today. So if we kick off, so earlier this year, eMarketer forecast that retail media will make up 1/5 of worldwide digital ad spend this year, which is around $140 billion, which is a staggering amount, and we've seen huge growth in this area. So Expedia has been considered a leader in this arena. So how have you harnessed the power of retail media to stay at the forefront of this space?
So we've not practiced this at all, by the way. So I think firstly, as I just said, we've been in this space from an e-commerce and retail media perspective for 20 years. I've obviously not been a part of that entire journey. I'm not that old. But for the last 10, I've really kind of lived and breathed this, the way in which we can really connect brands to kind of an e-commerce and retail platform. I think the reality is, and I do think it's like the buzzword of 2024, it's being brought on specifically, the evolution, I think, because of the deprecation of third-party cookies. Not to say that retail media networks wouldn't still become a really, really powerful thing within the advertising business, but I think the deprecation of cookies and the importance of first-party data is really catapulting the need for brands to kind of evolve their media mix. From our perspective, does everyone know what a retail media network is, by the way? Hands up. Okay, actually not as many as we thought. So let's back up a little bit. So retail media obviously have been, as it kind of says, e-commerce channels, right? People selling things, or also not e-commerce, people selling things like Sainsbury's and Tesco, anyone that's selling things within their own marketplace, whether that be online or not. What you're seeing now is all of these brands actually becoming, in their own right, media companies as well. So again, Expedia has been doing this a really long time. We've been monetizing our audience and finding ways to create more personalized advertising experience that helps to generate more conversions and bookings within our marketplace. Some other examples of people doing this really, really well are Walmart in the US. So you might have just read in the last couple of months they bought Vizio TVs. You might be thinking, why in the hell are they buying TV manufacturing companies? It's because they want to sell advertising on TVs. So it goes from Walmart just selling the things within Walmart stores to being able to sell advertising to all the peoples coming through their stores, and then also all the people that are not coming through their stores using the data that they have about their audiences. So when we think about in the landscape of kind of digital advertising, it's taking this idea that e-commerce platforms have been able to monetize their audience within their owned and operated using their first-party data and everything they have access to through digital advertising, social, etc. And now with a network and the deprecation of cookies, they're able to expand that reach across other intersections and points of connectivity when that audience is behaving and interacting with other brands. So for instance, as a traveler, and you're looking for travel, it's not like you spend all day just on Expedia, just searching for flight after flight. You're also shopping for things on ASOS. You might be watching Disney Plus on a Saturday night with your family. And how do you then connect all of those points for you to then help reach a really, really lucrative consumer that has a high disposable income, likes to spend money, comfortable doing it online, and then intersect them with all parts of their, whether they're in that inspiration stage or when perhaps their mind is more made up.
Thank you. And I think that piece around the journey is like travel is one part of that, and then what behavior, what are they doing, what else are they interested in, how can we find those people elsewhere? And I must say, I'm amazed we made it through the entire day, really, without touching on the third-party cookie deprecation until now. So we all know it's coming, despite Google pushing back into next year for the deprecation of cookies on Chrome. The IAB messaging is very much, we should still not lose momentum and prepare for it now. So considering the extensive amount of first-party data that Expedia gathers, coupled with the influential power of travel, how is Expedia maximizing its first-party data?
Good question. I think this is a really big unknown for a lot of us exploring this space. What I will say is that we have always taken a pretty significant stance on how important our first-party data was. So anyone out there that is in a space where you can retain control over who's accessing your first-party data, I think that's incredibly important. We've never sold onwards access to our first-party data, our audience. So if you do want to access our audience, you have to come to us. And so I think we're in a really strong position right now to be able to decide our journey as to where we want to take it and where we want to then enter into strategic partnerships with other brands to add value kind of symbiotically with their first-party data and our first-party data to essentially create a better personalized, targeted experience for the advertisers that want to engage that audience. An example might be the work that we're doing with the Walt Disney Company. Obviously, we work with them in a capacity of selling the Walt Disney World tickets, hotels, etc. But we also think that their media organization is really interesting for us as a means to inspire travel within Disney Plus, etc. So how do we create kind of a data clean room or something whereby we are leveraging each other's first-party data really responsibly and really valuably for advertisers?
Wonderful. And if I can, I'll take the liberty of sharing an example that we've worked with Oracle Advertising. So we worked with Lyft, the ride-sharing company in the US recently, who have first-party data on ride history, payment details, and so on, but worked with our data enrichment products and our identity spine to expand that so that we can include retail purchase behavior, demographic attributes, again, to help extend their campaigns. So I do feel we're going to see more and more brands focused in this space with the third-party deprecation of cookies coming. And so, yeah, it's something that we should all be thinking about. And that first-party data asset is so important, more so, I guess, than ever before.
I think if I can push it back to you, so you're not the only one asking questions, but I think from my perspective too, and maybe this comes into some of the work you're doing at Oracle, but you can see how this becomes really complex really quickly when you start to widen the net of your network, and then it's all well and good if you're accessing all of these audiences, but as you start to introduce both online and offline channels and multiple different brands within kind of one, sort of campaign, if you will, that gets really, really, for us, we don't really have an answer yet as to how we measure and attribute that as an end result. Like if you're going to reach a great audience, but then how do you actually report on that? So I don't know if there's anything you guys have thought about on your side.
We're On top of, I guess, our enrichment opportunities, we are working and building on what we call a data collaboration platform, which is essentially a purpose-built platform that brands can use to really help exactly this issue, and have a data clean room as well to make sure that you know that your data, what exactly is happening with your data and where that's being used at any one time. So if anyone is interested on any more information, I'm going to be around after this session and happily can share more details around that. But absolutely, I understand. I feel like, and as we evolve into this, certainly as the deprecation actually takes place later this year and into next, then we'll see more of this coming down the line. Yeah. So shifting slightly into cultural moments, so I'm going to pick out the Taylor Swift phenomenon. So these all have significant impact on the work that we all do. So quick poll, any Swifties in the room? Anyone's going to be, oh yes, you're all brave enough to admit it, amazing. I thought I was going to have to put my own hand up
I don't
then.
get it.
Oh, she's amazing.
Beyonce, yes. Taylor Swift, no.
Thank you for all of those brave, honest people. So how has Expedia utilized its tools to enhance travel partners' visibility across Expedia brands and increase partner revenue during such popular cultural events?
Yeah, well, so it was one of our 2024 travel trends. It kind of took us by surprise, I think, as much as the rest of the world. I can't remember the stat, but I think it was like travel searches for places where Taylor Swift's concerts were going to be, the destinations were up 250% year over year, which is just unbelievable. We had never seen anything like it. So we were a little bit, behind the curve, but it came out as one of our trends. We call it tourism, and it's really kind of based on this idea that people will be willing to travel for specific cultural moments. And they're actually, I think, 70% more likely to travel out of their own hometown in order to attend something that is a moment in time. With that, we've used, capitalized on that to understand what kind of passion pillars, if you will, we as a brand need to be more aligned to in order to help that audience, add value to the audience when it comes to facilitating their travel. So an example of this really kind of comes up in music, obviously, but also sport. So you'll probably see, when we leave these rooms, you might have seen Expedia start to really invest in partnerships and sponsorships with regards to sport and music. So we've just actually come off of the New Orleans Jazz Fest. We are big sponsors of Liverpool FC, Arsenal, the NBA in the US. And so that's by design. It's not that we just want to slap a logo on a shirt. It's actually how we can intersect an additional audience through an expanded network. And really, if an NBA fan is looking to go to the NBA Finals in Las Vegas, how does our partnership actually intersect that traveler or would-be traveler at a point in time where we go from them buying a ticket to the game and then being marketed, if you will, a very, very seamless way to book travel to that game. And as Expedia, we can provide both rational benefits, so maybe curated deals during that point of time for Expedia members and our high-value travelers, but also emotional benefits, because through our partnerships and sponsorships, we get access to talent. So it might be, go stay in this hotel, and there'll be a meet and greet, surprise meet and greet with a Liverpool FC fan. So those are the ways in which we're trying to capitalize. Obviously, we're not going to do a surprise meet and greet with Taylor Swift yet, but you can see how, again, it's not just about them coming as an afterthought to Expedia, because it's a pretty our market is pretty aggressive. We don't want them to go to booking. We want to be right at that point when they're thinking about traveling for that moment, which we know is the behavior that they're suggesting.
Amazing. And on that point, I guess events that we know are coming, so the Euros, World Cup, Olympics, and so on, they're obviously huge events to plan around. So how do you go about planning the kind of the predictable ones that we know are going to happen versus something like, the Taylor Swift kind of which blows up that maybe we didn't quite expect?
Yeah, I mean, and we'll obviously just naturally benefit when she announces a tour. There's no way we're going to get ahead of that. But the likes of like the World Cup, as an example, is something absolutely we're already planning for. The U.S. is a huge market. North America is a huge market for us. And so we are working with, it's actually one thing that my team has got the privilege to do at the moment is figure out how we can capitalize on the world traveling to North America for the biggest global sporting event, and we work really regularly with the national tourism boards and then regional cities, hotels, etc. So how do we surround that event in a way that is again going to it's going to make the most for the person that's traveling. And you'll have different kinds of fans, right? You might have a fan that's the diehard, they're just traveling for football. Or you might have the more kind of laissez-faire fan who has just always wanted to travel to the U.S. from a bucket list standpoint. And how do we, intersect them with, I think this is going to come into some of the network stuff around personalization and content. Like, what is that message that you want to tell them in all of these various touch points? And for us, it's curated itineraries. You might be allocated a ticket to a match in San Francisco, but did you know that you could stay the weekend and go up to wine country, or do a road trip down Route 101? So it's looking at how we turn this into a really, really great travel experience for people who are going to be there, and those that may not have tickets and just want to kind of experience the event itself. But I think with that, like, one of our challenges is how we're reaching that audience, obviously, to get them. But it's the message, and that also gets really complex because you can't just have one singular or even just a handful. I think, historically we think about how we advertise. You have your select creatives and then you're testing against A and B, and that's it. I think bringing in AI to the conversation, how we look at targeting capabilities across the network and how we're scraping different parts of pieces of content and moments, how that starts to create more personalized ad experiences is going to be a really interesting space.
And I think the ever-evolving use, and we've heard it a lot today with influencers as well, as part of that, which has really kind of blown up, I guess, in the past couple of years. So thank you so much. So attention, I'm going to draw your attention to attention. And this is a real kind of critical topic in our industry, and certainly for us on our moat verification suite. So I guess, for us, on top of our baseline of looking at ad verification and looking at whether an ad is valid, is it viewable, and is it brand safe, we use what we call an attention quality score, and we base that on a framework we call EPIC. So E standing for exposure to an ad, prominent, P for the prominence, so where is that placed on the page, I is the interaction, and so what actions are taken, is there a click, is it hovered, and the final part, which is under research and development, is conditions, so looking at other elements that might affect that, so time of day, for example. So, I guess how are you enhancing on Expedia the customer experience to drive attention in this retail space?
I mean, it sounds like my people need to talk to your people.
Perfect.
Because I don't think we've got it figured out. I think that we do a really good job of creating personalized ad experiences on our owned and operated properties. We have very targeted capabilities. We have billions and billions and billions of lines of data and technology platforms that allow us to reach the exact person that you want to reach. I think, again, as we expand across a retail media network, that becomes harder for us to measure because we're losing that control. So going back to the attribution, I think that some folks, I know like Gum, and they're starting to kind of prop up really, really interesting tools that allow, sounds like you guys as well. I think it's going to be crucial to work with partners like you, to help us make sure that the content we're creating and the media comm strategy is actually effective, because we're going to continue to lose more and more control with the expansion.
We can pick up after the chat. Sounds ideal. Thank you for that. And, we've heard a lot about this today. AI, I think, has come up in every single session, and rightly so. It's not going anywhere. So with the integration of AI and the tech becoming increasingly prevalent, so how is Expedia enhancing its solutions to leverage this new wave of tech in this retail media space?
Great question. I'm not the AI expert, but I'll sandbag here. What I can tell you is that Expedia has, it's nothing new to us. So although like last year's word of the year was kind of ChatGPT and AI and machine learning has been at the forefront of our entire technology platform. Probably not so much in a consumer kind of friendly way, things that you would never see behind the scenes, but there's a reason why you were served up that exact flight or that exact hotel, and that all comes down to the work that we've done through AI and machine learning. I think, kind of going back to what you were saying, like, I think what's going to be really interesting is how we use AI as brand marketers and not be afraid as creatives that AI is going to start taking our jobs, but how it actually makes us better creatives and actually how it makes the work that we do more effective, makes us more accountable as marketers. I think that's going to be really interesting, especially as we're starting to, through these networks, start to engage and intersect audiences that I might not be as knowledgeable as how to speak to them. So that's going to be, going back to the Disney example, I don't know how I should be speaking to Disney's first-party data, first-party audience, but Disney does. So how do we use AI in a smart way to ensure that we are, efficiently and, and intelligently creating and targeting in a way that's going to benefit the advertiser.
Amazing. Thank you. I think we're down to our last 5 minutes or so. So a couple more questions. How do you envisage the evolution of the retail space in the next 3 to 5 years, if you can? Any predictions?
I think it's going to be a little bit of what I just said. I think everyone's going to get really excited about retail media networks. I think you're going to now start to see them everywhere. It's like when you want to buy a red car, and then all of a sudden you see red cars, and you name your kid Margot, and then everyone's kid's named Margot, which happened to me. I do think that you're going to hear a lot about this. I think there's going to be a lot more brands. I think Saks Fifth Avenue just announced they're becoming a retail media network. So there's going to be no shortage of retail media networks. I think as we look at the space, making sure that we have the right measurement, attribution, be able to have that through line between offline, online, and I think that's going to be the next 3 to 5 years, how we make sure that these networks actually run as we intend them to do with this journey that we're on.
Okay, amazing. And just something you said there about, there's a lot of retail media networks. So is that a challenge for you, and how are you thinking about that? Or how are you differentiating yourself?
That's it, right? All of a sudden, it's like,
everyone's
and what? So what? So I think, as I said, we've been on this journey for a really long time. We're actually just now, it's really just a rebrand. But you have to go on that journey, right? Because everyone else is kind of playing in this space. And I think that's where it has the potential to be like, so what? There's nothing new here because everyone's the same kind of beige. So making sure that you, again, really understand why you'd buy into a media network, what audiences are you trying to look at, quality over quantity, if you will. But I also think about opening up your kind of thinking as to I don't want to work with Expedia just because I want a travel audience. It's how do you get, the sort of, I think it expands the way and the audiences at which we can reach in different points of the customer journey.
Amazing. And just finally, if there's one takeaway for everyone to take back with them today, or to remember from our discussion, what would it be?
I think, think about, why you might want to engage a retail media network. Think about, what you're going to be doing when it comes to the cookie deprecation, right? What you need to be doing in terms of personalization and partnerships in order to, reach bigger audiences in more effective ways. And then I think the measurement piece is going to be really important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time, and thank you all for staying and hanging around for the session. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you.